Looking at the next slide, they've got some practice problems for you to be able to do. And remember with these, whenever you guys had these as your homework for the first day, when we came back that second day, we opened up GeoGebra together and worked them out. So if you go over here on the left side and you click this bar, this opens up GeoGebra. And with these, you can even copy paste them. So if I highlight just the information that we need and do a Control-C to copy it, and then come over here and we want to start graphing. And we click Control-V and hit Enter. It converted it, Control-V. So I need to see how these were done as exponents. So I need to switch these to exponents. So I'm going to click on the other side of the 2, hit backspace and do squared. And here, backspace and do squared. And then I'm going to delete these. So delete, delete, there's that. And hit enter, and then there's the circle. So there is, you can look from a graph. Instead of having to complete the square, you can look from a graph in order to be able to figure out that standard form for the equation of the circle. And you've got to find the diameter or the longest part across, and you've got to, from there, figure out where the center of that circle would be. And I don't want it to go by 2s. I want mine to go by 1. So I'm going to go into my settings, into my grid settings, and I just want my major grid lines, and for the distance, my x is 1, y 1, there we go. So there we go. And so widest point here, and I can count the spaces and then figure out by doing the math that my center is here. So that can help you be able to double check you're completing the square to figure out what the equation of that circle is going to be. So going back, you can use that tool to help you go back and forth and figure out what these values are going to be from your standard form of a circle to the general form, or sorry, from general form to standard form. I said it backwards. Sorry about that. And they give you 2 problems, I think, to practice on that. I think is what they have for you. No, just the one? Okay. And I think that's why, that's why I was encouraging you to work out this problem here, so you would have 2 problems before you got to that mastery test for having to do those. So there's a summary that sums up what we're doing with our circles. And that completes the lesson part, or the tutorial part of the lesson. If you go into the mastery tests, depending on which version you get will depend on what problems you get. But looking at these, so looking at this one, what is the general form of equation of a circle with given center A? So with this one's kind of different. It's not one where we really, I don't think we ever did problems like this in class, but these aren't too bad. So I know that I want it in general form by the time everything's said and done. But looking at the information that they gave us, that information is really easy to plug into standard form. So I said, okay, I'm really good with standard form, so I'm going to start with that. So I took the x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. I took my center and my radius and plugged those into the places that they belong. And then I knew I needed to go to general form. So to get from standard to general form, you just start multiplying everything out. X plus 3 squared means x plus 3 times x plus 3. And then y minus 12 squared means y minus 12 times y minus 12. And then you've got to square that 5 as well to give me the 25. So with these, I helped you out because I know multiplying binomials can be kind of tricky. Remember, you've got to do all of the terms. So like the x has to be multiplied to both of the terms. So that's how I got the x squared and then 3x. And then there's my 3. You got to do the 3 times x and the 3 times 3. So that's how I got the 3x plus 9. Just did the same thing on that second set there. And then from there, you would need to combine your like terms. So you would have to add your 3 x's together and subtract the work with those negative 12 y's. and then combine the 9 and the 144 and the 25, but you would do just the 9 and the 144 and then bring that 25 over, and then they like to put them in this order. So that's what you would need to do for those guys. If you get a problem that looks like this isn't too bad. They're wanting you to come up with your HK on your own, that center point. So if we're looking, this 1 point is your X value. So if we're looking for the X value, it comes from that point right there, because if we drew this line all the way down through to the X axis, that is where we would have our X value. So our center for this one's going to be 4. And then getting the Y value, if we continue this line over to the Y axis, that would give us our Y value for a point. So the center for this one's going to be 4, 4. So and then you're looking for your radius. So then from 4 to 7, our radius is going to be equal to 3. So this problem kind of picks up. It just takes it one step farther, but it kind of picks up to the problem that they had above, where you had to be doing those different values. So yeah, back up here. So now we've got our negative 312 and our 5 here. Here you've got your 4, 4 and your 3 there. So you'll go through the same process of setting it up just like I did, and multiplying those things out. Looking at this one's to know what is the general form of the equation for the given circle centered at 0, 0. With this one, they give you your center, but they don't give you your radius. So this is one where you would have to make that right triangle right there. And then looking at the value for this side right here would be 4. And this side right here would be your 5. So you would have to do that Pythagorean theorem, the a squared plus b squared, or 4 squared plus 5 squared, to give you that value right there. And remember, when you do that Pythagorean theorem, for circles especially, I told you don't worry about converting that to a radius or taking the square root of whatever number you end up with, because that's going to give you a decimal. And then when you go to switching it here, that's going to give you trouble. So make sure you leave it as just the square root. Also, this is another one where you're going to start with it in standard form. The x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, and switch it into your general form. This one's not too bad. All right, looking at the next one, this is theory, and we're not a theory class, so there's that one. Looking at this one requires you to use the distance formula, and I'm not really interested in that, so there's that one. Looking at this one, this is another one that has you do the distance formula, and it kind of has you check by using those values right there. So I gave you the drop downs. I gave you the drop downs for those two boxes right there. And I felt like once you had those two boxes filled in, it wouldn't be too bad at all for you to be going and doing this third drop down box for writing the equation of the circle in standard form. So I left you to do that box. Gave you those two, and you should be able to do that one, no problem. Looking at this one, the problem doesn't read too bad. It is going to be another distance formula, and I thought about just giving you the radius, but then it went in and it wanted you to do the equation of the circles, and whenever you substitute them in the way that we went with in class, these were always minuses, and I just didn't like the style of the question, so I just went ahead and give you those values. Looking at this next example, it was pretty neat, but it kind of took things a little farther and had you doing a lot more work than I wanted you to be doing for today. So looking at this one, this is a drag and drop kind of a thing. It's pretty neat. These right here in this box are your answer choices, and it's a matching kind of a thing. And then down here below, they've got a spot for your answers to go. And since we didn't do a lot of problems where we had you dividing by a number in class to switch it from that standard the general form to the standard form, I just went ahead and gave you the two that had you doing that. So the two that you have left, which is those two equations right there, you've got to figure out which two of these equations match which one of these three. So between that one, and that one, which equations does that match? And if you want to be using things like GeoGebra to help you figure that out, feel free. Okay. And then there's another matching, and it was just more of let's have you complete the square. And once you guys get through this one and the other problems that they have you doing, I felt like you had enough with those. And so this is a take it from general form to arrange the circles represented by their equations in general form and in ascending order of the lengths of the radiuses. So you would have to go through, solve every single one of those guys by completing the square or by putting them into GeoGebra, figuring out what their lengths are and putting them in order. And I think once you guys do the other problems, you'll have enough practice and you can skip this one and not worry about that one. Okay, so I think that covers all of the things that we need to talk about for equations of circles, both standard form and general form. If you've got any questions, please email me, let me know, or join me during my virtual office hours. I hope you're doing well. Take care.